Welcome back, guys. I'm your host, Invisigoth. I am doing a speed run through Vanilla Minecraft Hardcore version 1.5.2 for any of those who may have missed it or forgotten. Looking for a nether fortress, and I did not have a lot of luck with this. I had to screw around with my render distance a fair amount, but it was also pretty choppy, so I was kind of trying to get the most out of my machine that I could for this. And I'm just slapping down a few cobblestones just as markers. No cobblestone occurs naturally in the nether, so if I see cobblestone, I know that that's something that I've put down and wasn't there originally. If I was playing a full-fledged Minecraft game, I'd, be fancy with it and maybe put a little torch indicating which direction was home or something like that. But for right now, in a speed run, I just got to not get lost. And I did for the most part succeed. I think I had putting down gravel isn't too smart because gravel does occur naturally, but I did for the most part not get lost despite having to wander around a little bit looking for a fortress. I think there was one point I got turned around for like 20 seconds, but not too bad considering how convoluted this particular... Oh, do not stand by the edge when there's a slime behind you. Plenty of nothing. It is one of the most frustrating things about trying to do a speedrun is not finding a nether fortress. I have in the past had speedruns that were completely derailed, and I mean utterly derailed, due to not being able to find a nether fortress at all. And I'm talking literally 2 hours of looking around just for a fortress. I mean, between not wanting to bridge over giant lakes of lava and just, looking around in the areas that I was able to get to, it was a complete disaster. So, finding a fortress at all is, oddly enough, lucky. Now, I have read in the wiki that nether fortresses do repeat in sort of a north-south axis, and so what that means is there are fortresses here and there, and if you happen to get a small fortress, and I guess some people aren't aware of this, but not every nether fortress is going to have nether wart, and that's really mostly what you're looking for. I mean, the blazes will spawn on any nether brick, and if you find a spawner, then that's that much better. But even if you just have nether brick, you'll get a certain number of blazes just naturally spawning. But you may not find nether wart in any given fortress, according to the wiki. So, if you don't find nether wart, and this doesn't apply to my speedrun because I'm not doing potions, but if you don't find nether wart, go north or south if you know which direction north or south is. And I think you could figure that out by looking at some of the patterns on some of the blocks, and there's certain ways to tell which way is north. I'm actually not aware. I'm aware that there is such a thing. I'm not aware of exactly what it is, and I have never bothered to learn. I think it's cobble or gravel, that there's a particular thing where you can say, okay, well, this design always occurs in the northwest corner of the surface. So you can tell what direction is which without a compass and without a map. But regardless, if you don't find nether wart in one fortress and you go north or south, if you can figure out how to do that, you will find another fortress eventually. Yes, the lava in the nether. And this actually worked out well because I needed a few extra flint anyway, so it's probably not bad to have this gravel and use it for exactly this sort of thing. Getting, another 6 or 7 flints would not suck at this point in the game. And just whipping out your shovel and whacking at the gravel once the lava has calmed down it just takes a couple seconds. Now, I'll be honest, I really don't... Well, let me mention one more thing about the mapping and the strongholds being north or south. You can't actually make a map in the Nether if you want to. It does not show you any landmarks or anything. It basically shows you, instead of showing you trees and water, it shows you the top of the Nether, which is all just netherrack, so you really can't see anything. But you can use it to figure out which direction is north. And it'll show you as you move. Boy, that's frightening. It'll show you as you move heading in, you know, north, south, east, or west. So that's one easy way to tell directions in the Nether if you absolutely have to. So if you're going to use the thing I said about hunting down Nether fortresses, the easiest way is probably to slap down a map. I mean, at the cost of a compass and 8 paper, it's pretty cheap. And it'll tell you exactly which direction's which. Okay, this is a little bit problematic. Goddamn magma cubes. I was trying to knock him off, but he's too smart for me. Oh, and the blazes are setting me on fire. I find that these little rooms are really good just for random blazes, and even if you have a spawner up top, once a blaze sort of gets situated in this little stairwell, they almost always come straight down. I don't think I've ever seen one fly back up and out. The biggest problem I have with blazes is not killing them. I mean, I can kill them with a bow, no problem. But if you can't get the blaze rods, it's kind of pointless. And you can't get the experience either. So I try and do exactly what I did with that guy. Sometimes you get burnt, and that's okay. As long as you keep an eye on your health and make sure that you don't have any... you're not hungry. The other thing I did there was I put some cobblestone blocks in the entrance to the nearby hallway. That is for keeping out wither skeletons. Wither skeletons are 3 high, and they can't get inside a room that the entrance is only 2 high. So use that to your advantage. You don't want anybody sneaking up on you when you're fighting a blaze. The last thing I want to do is get a wither skeleton up my ass and he withers me, and then I'm pretty much a goner because I won't be able to see how much health I have left. So anyway, play defensively, especially in hardcore and especially for a speedrun. So at this point, I am hauling ass back to the surface world because I know it's almost nighttime. It's a little bit disoriented there for a second. I think I'm actually more disoriented the second time when I come back here. And if I was a little bit smarter, I would have grabbed that quartz. That's some really easy experience points there. I guess I probably was a little bit late for night here, so I didn't want to screw around too much. Hey, zombie pig man. And that far render really makes it very spotty as far as loading chunks, so I set it back. And again, apologies for having to switch that back and forth, but in some cases you absolutely have to have far render distance to have a... I mean, even just for gas. I don't know how people hunt and fight gas when they have, like, small render distance. That's just... I mean, you literally can't see them when they're shooting at you. And even if you could sort of figure out where they are, you can't tell which direction they're facing, so you're just wasting arrows. Someday, and it won't be probably too far off, everybody will be able to run this game in far render distance and have no issues at all. It's not that much hardware that needs to come along before that's possible. We're just not quite there yet. But I mean, a good rig today, a top end rig can easily do it, and mine is not a top end rig by any stretch. But in another 3 years, pretty much any computer will be able to do it. You know, just hardware gets better and better. Hunting the Endermans. Hunting the Endermans. So I think, and I apologize for not having a better grasp of which day we're on, but I'm kind of recording all this in one shot after the fact rather than waiting and splitting up the videos. Maybe that was a bad call on my part, but anyway. We're somewhere around 2 hours and 10 minutes, so that to me is the night of the 7th day, maybe? If I need a correction, there'll be some text on screen that'll set me straight. I'll double check it. But it'll be interesting to see how many ender pearls I have. I think by the end of tonight, I had like a grand total of 7. So that's averaging 1 a night and nowhere near the 2 a night that I wanted. If I had been able to literally just go back into the nether the next day and then come back and head straight for the portal, that would have been great. Did not pan out. So some of this, I'm like, when I go to the nether, I'm kind of metering that based on how many ender pearls I have. If I don't see a way to really get many more ender pearls, if I've literally spent at least 90% of every night out hunting endermen and I'm only getting 1 pearl a night, there's no reason to rush to the stronghold. I just don't have the Eyes of Ender to do it. I mean, and you know, once you get so deep into it where you're 7 days in and you only have 7 pearls, you know, what do? You just bail on the entire thing, or do you keep going? In this case, I kept going, and it actually turned out okay. So, but we're definitely past the halfway mark for the videos itself. We're in episode 5, and there should be a total of 8 episodes. So now, I did have somebody on the forums say that you could do this all in one day if everything happened perfectly. I actually don't think that's even possible. And he was talking about a scenario where you find a village instantly, you have a priest who's selling the Eyes of Ender, you have someone else who's going to say buy a bunch of wool and paper, and you know, there's a blacksmith. Let's say there's 2 blacksmith chests with a bunch of... Oh, raining again. Okay. So, again, if it's raining, all of the Endermen over in the plains biome and in the swamp biome should be teleporting up into the desert. Or they have at least a chance. And maybe this guy was one of those. I couldn't really tell. But if a guy's out in the swamp and he gets rained on, he's going to teleport around. And if he happens to hit the desert, then that's where he'll stay. So maybe I get lucky here because of the rain. At this point in the process, I would take any stroke of luck I could get because I just was not getting enough ender pearls. But someone was saying, well, if you go into a village and you have a priest and then you have the blacksmith's chest and maybe they have a bunch of obsidian and diamonds, so you've already got basically your enchanting table. Yeah, I mean, that would definitely be a better start than what I had here, but I don't know that that would get you through the game. And this guy was saying 1 game day. I don't think that's possible. I mean, before you go to the end, you need around 15, well, a minimum of, say, if you want to make sure that you can activate the portal, you've got to have an absolute minimum of 13 Eyes of Ender. 1 to find the stronghold. Eyes of Ender break 20% of the time when you throw them in the air, but you could get lucky. And then you can sometimes have a few Eyes of Ender already in the portal in some of the slots, but I've seen plenty of situations where there was not a single Eye of Ender in there, and you had to provide all 12. So I would say absolute bare minimum, you need 13 Eyes of Ender. And you need some armor, and you need a bow. So you can't even get a bow until the skeletons and spiders come out at nighttime. So for the first day, unless you find an abandoned mine shaft like right next to you, you can't have a bow. There's no way that you can't buy the components for a bow. You also would have to sell a ridiculous amount of stuff. If someone was just buying wool, I mean, and I think they changed some of these numbers recently, but if a farmer is buying wool, that's 14 to 21 wool for a single emerald. So if you have a stack of 64, you're only going to get 4 emeralds with a handful of wool left over. And if you want to buy Eyes of Ender, you can get 1 Eye of Ender for 7 to 10 emeralds. And this guy was also talking about not just buying the Eyes of Ender, but then buying a bunch of bottles of enchanting. Which 1 ender pearl or 1 emerald is only going to get you 2 to 4 bottles of enchanting. So I don't think there's any way you can get that many emeralds going back and forth in the space of a day. Because this guy was saying, oh, you just go get looting 3 on your sword, no big deal. Yeah, it's a big deal. Looting 3 is literally the least likely, most rare enchantment on a sword. And you have to start out with something around the neighborhood of 30 levels to even have a shot at getting looting 3. So, yeah, that's not going to happen. And then you combine that with the fact that you can't even hunt the Endermen, really, until night falls. So you're already 10 minutes into a 20-minute day. And well, you know what? Actually, I take it back. He was talking about buying the bottles of enchanting, not the Eyes of Ender. So scratch the Eyes of Ender part. He was going to get those the hard way. For my money, and in my mind, if you were going to do all that, then you would also get the priest to sell you some Eyes of Ender, because they're actually really common trades. But even then, either way, you have to spend some time in the Nether getting your blaze rods and your blaze powder, or you have to spend extra time selling shit to the guys in the village, which isn't going to be easy. You're going to have to do something. You're going to have to breed sheep or something. You're going to make a reed farm. Great, but that takes time. That's not going to be done in one day. You're not going to end up with piles and piles of stuff on the first day, no matter how you slice it. And there were several other factors. But basically, I would think even if everything went absolutely perfectly and you could get a few things from a village, that would be great. But I'd say even then, you're probably talking 3 days. And I mean, obviously, I'm talking more like 12 for a 4-hour run. And that's just ridiculous and preposterous and terribly disappointing. But hey, let's see if we can get this dude's armor. He might also have a magic bow. I've got to be really careful. I cannot tell you how many of these speedruns have been abruptly ended by just the one random guy who had a power 3 bow, and I just got a little too close, and whack, 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 I'm dead. Or for that matter, flame. If I'm not prepared for it, it can be really disorienting. So yeah, I'd say even if every possible random thing ended up in your favor, you're probably talking 2 to 3 days. I think you probably do it in 2.5. I'd guess 2.5. Oh, and I didn't talk about the fact that if you are going to the end and you just have a regular bow, your fight with the Ender Dragon and getting all the crystals knocked out and then fighting the Ender Dragon and trying to avoid the Endermen in the meantime, that's going to take you like 20 minutes. I mean, it's kind of a pain in the ass. The Ender Dragon himself is not hard to fight. I just fight him with a bow, and every time he gets near, I just whack him with a bow and usually get a second shot in as well. If you let him get fairly close, you can whack him, and then he sort of changes direction. And as long as you lead him a little bit, you'll get in a second bow shot. So I don't waste too many arrows on the dragon himself, although I'll be honest, I think I did waste a few in this particular speedrun. But just the time to take out all the crystals, and I mean even time just to bridge over to the landmass. You start out on, I think it's a 3x3 platform of obsidian, and it's often some distance from the main floating island landmass, and you have to bridge over and not get it knocked off by the dragon in the meantime. If you're very lucky, you will actually appear in a little hole, a little chamber inside of the landmass, and have to dig your way out. But even then, the dragon can fly through the landmass and will be more than happy to kill you before you even see the light of day, before you even see the sky or the void, or I guess it's the void. But even in that case, assuming the dragon is really far away from you and you can knock out a bunch of crystals before the dragon even notices you, if the dragon gets far enough away from you, he will actually stop. He'll stall in midair. I think that happens with the other mobs, including the Wither. If you get far enough away, they just stop moving. It's a way for the game to save resources. If you're too far away for an opponent, they don't spend a whole lot of time causing that opponent to go through all of its AI. It just sort of pauses until it's kind of needed, and it's only needed when you get closer. See, this guy teleported into the water, and then he teleported out there. And I think he was non-aggro until I just looked at him again and then got him to come out. But I don't know. I could be wrong there. Anyway, he certainly did teleport into the water, and I believe the wiki says that when that happens, it may not be all the time, but at least part of the time, the Enderman becomes non-aggressive. It loses its interest in you. So, got a thunderstorm now. Got a rolling thunderstorm. So you're going to have guys spawning in the desert itself, and you're going to have guys spawning in the nearby biomes. Those guys will probably be, since I don't have any snow biomes nearby, they will be teleporting, trying to get out of the rain, and so they may end up in the desert. At least a few of these guys did, I'm sure. Without seeing them teleport in, though, there's no way to tell. But so basically, that's that 2.5 days that I was talking about is, as far as I can tell, that's got to be close to like a literal mathematical best case scenario. And needless to say, anything of the hundreds and hundreds of different random factors that goes against you. I mean, that's like literally, you know, even the bottles of enchanting, I think they give you between 3 and 11 experience points. So that's literally getting 11 experience points every single time you throw an enchanting bottle. Bottle O enchanting. So every one of those items that is not perfect, is not absolutely ideal, extend your time, basically. Or, you know, one way or another. Or it reduces the enchantment level you could use, or whatever. It somehow dings you and probably causes the speedrun to take a little bit longer. Realistically, I would speculate, and this is just based on my own knowledge of the game and what's in the wiki and my own anecdotal experience, I would say I'd be happy getting this thing in. Certainly I can do it under 3 hours. I would be happy to get it in under 2 hours, which is 6 days. If I could do that, I'd probably be fairly happy with that. I think that's reasonable for basically a randomly generated world and hardcore, and you have to be a little extra careful on hardcore. There's no two ways about it. Even with this armor, I'm not going to run up to an Enderman and just start whacking him. He can still kill me in probably about 3 hits. So it's just not worth it. And God forbid I'm not paying attention and there's, you know, a skeleton behind me that shoots me or something. Shoots me, does damage, and knocks me into the Enderman. So, Now, as you can see here, I was knocked sideways, so I knew there was another skeleton off to my right. You always got to keep your eyes open. And that one looked like it bounced off him for some reason. I have no idea why. I don't think he had any, like, armor with thorns on it or anything. So, here's our next volunteer for The Enderman is Dead. You are the next contestant. Please step up to the front. And I know it seems like a little thing, but I think those criticals make such a huge difference. I mean, it's less wear and tear on my sword, which is actually getting pretty long in the tooth by now. And honestly, it just reduces the amount of time I have to stand there because some asshole's going to come up behind me. There's just, I mean, it's just going to happen. So the less time I have to spend killing an Enderman, the better. Now, I did consider trying to get looting. And I think I even picked up some gold, hoping that it would enchant better. And that I might have a chance of even getting looting 1. But I didn't even try it in this playthrough. I just didn't have enough levels of experience, but oh well. And in the future, I don't think I've ever, not once, enchanted a gold sword at level 8 and gotten anything that was worthwhile. I mean, I think I got Bane of Arthropods once or something like that. It's ridiculous. Knockback, which is absolutely useless to me, even in a regular game. All right, well, I'm going to wrap this thing up right here. This episode will be a little bit shorter. I want to get it so that we're right around the 2.5 hour mark for the next episode. So thank you very much for watching. Let me take this opportunity to say I always love comments. I always love feedback. Please let me know what you think, or if you have any tips or suggestions or thoughts, or you know, this is intended to be something that promotes discussion about Minecraft speedruns. So by all means, let me know your thoughts. If you do enjoy the videos, please consider liking or subscribing to my channel. That really helps me a lot to get motivated to do more of these. It's hard when you're not getting any response from the people that are viewing your videos. So if you feel the urge, if the spirit moves you, please feel free to let me know that you appreciated this in some way, whatever way you feel is appropriate. I would appreciate it, and thank you in advance. Thanks very much for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative and entertaining. Maybe not the commentary so much. I know it's a little dry because I'm just talking about game mechanics and stuff like that. But I guess anybody interested in a speedrun would maybe get some useful information from this, some tactics or something. I don't know. Hopefully. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.